Hey you guys, it's Crystal from the Abundantly Blessed Homestead, where we use the wisdom of our ancestors to make amazing, nourishing, delicious meals for our family and grow some of our own food. So there's not going to be a cooking class tonight. I literally have over 500 pounds of fruit in my house, so my main focus is just getting it preserved before it starts to rot. So anyway, I wanted to put out a video though. I might put out more than one. We'll just have to see how this process goes. George says hello. But basically, I have some people have some questions about how I do all of this. So the process starts with my cookbook. I know it's going to sound lame for those of you who don't own it yet, but it's only $18.99. The link's down below. It's not that expensive. I'm still waiting for them to print them and ship them to me, but if you've ordered one of these cookbooks, it will be headed towards you. I'm hoping to ship them out. They're saying they're going to be done next week, so we'll just have to see. But anyway, in this cookbook, in the back is my entire preservation canning section. This has all of the recipes that I use to preserve all of this fruit. So for instance, the spiced vanilla pear butter, it says right on there that it makes 14 pints, but it calls for 12 pounds of pears. So I just decide, look at the recipe and I decide, okay, so if I want so many pints of a butter, then I take that 12 pounds of pears and multiply it by however many jars I want. Same thing with the apple butter in here. The only one that doesn't have a special note on the pounds, and I believe I changed it on this upcoming cookbook, is the, let me see if I can find it. It's the apple pie filling. And just as a special note, in case you do have the cookbook, you could make a little note. 1 pound of apples does 1 quart jar of the apple pie filling. So that's, I just do a whole bunch of math, figure it out how many pounds of apples I need, how many pounds of pears I need, and then how much do we need for fresh eating. So let's go over and see the sorting process. That's step number 1. Okay, so we just have containers and containers of different apples, different types of apples. This is specifically all of the green type of apples. Everything else is kind of mixed from here on out. I sorted the green ones separately because these are really, really good in apple pie filling. So that's going to be the goal for this particular huge bunker there. But as we move this way, these containers haven't been sorted yet. And we've already processed a bunch of 5-gallon buckets that were windfall apples into sauce, because those have to be processed right away before they bruise. Okay, but then as we move this way, you're going to notice that the containers have like a little note on them. So this one is 40 pounds of slicing pears. So those are going to go into pear slices. They're going to be canned. Same thing here. This is a first month fresh eating. So the difference between this and then this box, these boxes I'm going to be putting into our refrigerator, our second refrigerator. This has, each one of these Azure boxes has 25 pounds of apples for hopefully over winter eating. So the difference between the two, so this one was for the 1 month, eat it within the first month. This one was long-term storage, is the long-term storage apples cannot have any blemishes. They have to be perfect, okay? So no like little divots, discoloration. This one has a little bit of discoloration. That's from the fertilizer I used. But there's no bug holes. There's no bruises. It looks perfect. And these will store in a root cellar or refrigerator if they're individually wrapped with newspaper all winter. So this is going to be our fruit all winter. I'm hoping to have 200 pounds to store. So if you order bulk fruit from Azure Standard, be keeping your boxes if you have access to an orchard. So then down here we have the first month eating. So this is going to be stuff that still looks good, but it may have like a little hole in it there. You know, little divots. The problem with long-term storing fruit that has divots, even if it's not an actual hole, it's just a divot like where a bug ate on it, is that this fruit is going to rot right in this spot first. So you don't want it to depend on this all winter. So those are the piles we have so far. And we're still sorting. I have to start this pile today. And we've got a bucket of sauce apples because they are just beyond storage and should really be processed right away because they have either wormholes or huge divots in them. They're just not going to store very well. So that's the sorting process. Let's go to the step number 2. Okay, so the first step would have been dicing the apples up. But then we put it inside this really big roaster. I think it's like a 24 quart. Don't quote me on that. It was the biggest one I could buy. And so we just filled the apples all the way to the top. And this is applesauce. So I added about 1/2 to 3/4 of a gallon of filtered water. Turned the roaster up to 350 degrees, but only if you're going to be home, only if you're going to be awake. Don't do that overnight. And go somewhere between 3 to 6 hours, depending on the size of the chunks of apple you've put in here. So anyway, it's cooked down quite a bit, and I've already kind of blended this a little bit, but I just take an immersion blender, and I just blend up the chunks. You don't have to get all the chunks. They are already cooked all the way through from being at 350 degrees for hours, okay? And that is the process of making applesauce. I'm going to show you guys how I jar it up as well. So let's get started on that. Okay, so the next step, for me anyway, is not approved by any of the letter organizations. But a lot of what I share here on the channel is not, if you think about it. The use of lard and butter and all these healthy fats is also not endorsed or approved by those people as well. So there are a couple options. If you don't feel safe proceeding the way I'm just about to take this video, that's fine. You can just take your applesauce, jar it up from the roaster, and water bath can it. But the way I have done for my family, for my pantry for several years now, with high acid foods only, obviously, is a method called open kettle canning. Now, this is the way all of the applesauce and tomato products were jarred up pre-World War II. So if you find a Ball or Kerr canning book that's pre-World War II, you will find the instructions in there on how to do open kettle canning. So I have everything blended to my liking. There's a few chunks, but like I said, it's all soft. You could smush it with your tongue. It's all very, very well cooked through. So I went ahead and turned the roaster down to 200 degrees. And then behind me in this oven is an entire oven full of washed jars at 200 degrees. They've been in there for a good 30 minutes. So I'm going to show you the quick process on how I jar all this stuff up. Brief little break to also say that this other roaster that I have is full of chopped up pears. This is the recipe for my vanilla pear butter, which is delicious. So this just needs to be blended, and the same process I'm about to show you can be used with this mixture as well, because it's also high acid. All right, so these are my lids. I just got done boiling them. I just brought them to a boil and let them boil for a couple of minutes. And now I'm going to go grab a jar, hot jar, out of the 200 degree oven, and we're going to get to filling, okay? I grabbed my jars out using a towel, nice clean towel. We're going to put a funnel on the top. Okay, so we have our funnel in place. Once again, this is hot. This is 200 degree applesauce. Going into a 200 degree jar. Okay, so our jar is now full. I'm going to remove this. We're going to wipe down the rim to make sure there's nothing on there that's going to prevent a seal. We're going to add our lid. Hot, 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 hot lid. Going on. We're going to crank that ring down all the way. Okay. And then we're just going to turn this jar upside down. I'm just going to invert it here on the counter. We're going to set a timer for 5 minutes. And I'm just going to flip this jar back over, and that's all there is to jarring up this applesauce. It's so simple. I'm just going to repeat the process, go to the stove, grab a new jar, hot jar out of the oven, and fill it just the same as I just showed you. And I'm going to continue doing that all the way through until the roaster is completely empty. All right, Bree says I should mention that when you invert them back over to the right side up position, as they're cooling, they're going to pop. The lid is going to seal, and that's how you're going to know it's shelf stable and ready to go. If you guys have any other questions, put them down below. I'm going to get rolling because I have 2 roasters full of fruit that needs to be jarred up. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and we're going to see how this goes. I may put out another video when we go to make the apple pie filling. If you're interested in that, please comment down below. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next one.